Chapter 1 of Stories from God's Holy Book by Josephine Looney. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Stories from God's Holy Book by Josephine Looney. Creation. I have a friend, the child began, who is the greatest friend of man. He gave us birds and flowers and trees. He gives us eyes and hands and knees. He came on earth, so when we die, we'll find His home up in the sky. Patricia's brown eyes twinkled with delight. "Read it again, Joe," she begged. "Read us some more about the greatest friend of man." "I know His name," said Bobby. "His name is God. Isn't it, Joe?" "And when He came on earth," chimed in Patricia, "He was called Jesus. Wasn't He, Joe?" Joe nodded "yes" to each child in turn. "When we find His home up in the sky, will we go in a plane?" Bobby wanted to know. Joe had to smile at that. "Not exactly, Bobby," she said. "When God calls us to heaven He doesn't need airplanes to get us there. God can do anything. He made the sky, and He made the world, and He made everyone in the world." "I love God," Patricia said. "I love the pretty things He makes for us, violets and sunflowers and baby chickens." "Did He make this house?" asked Bobby. "He didn't build the house," Joe answered, "but He made the things the house is built of." "Where does wood come from?" "From trees!" cried Patricia. "God made trees." "What did He make trees out of?" questioned Bobby. "Out of nothing," Joe replied. "God made everything out of nothing." "Out of nothing," echoed Patricia. "Tell us about it, Joe." That was the beginning of the stories Joe told the two children as they sat before the fire on winter afternoons. Bobby and Patricia were cousins. They lived next door to each other. They were almost exactly the same age. Joe was their Aunt Josephine. She often came over to play with them. They loved Joe, and they loved the stories she told them. "Once upon a time," Joe began, "there were no trees or flowers or animals or people. There was no world at all. But there was God. God always was. And God is so good that He said to Himself, 'I will make people. I will put them in a beautiful world. I will love them and take care of them and make them happy.' So God began to make the world. It took Him 6 days. Darkness was everywhere. So on the first day God made the light. He called the light Day and the darkness Night. On the second day He made the sky and called it Heaven, and under the sky He made land and called it Earth. First there was water all over the earth, but God gathered the water into certain places which He called oceans. The rest of the earth was dry land. On the third day He made grass and flowers and trees grow on the land. On the fourth day He put 2 great lights in the sky. He put the sun to shine there in the daytime and the moon to shine there at night. He made the stars too. On the fifth day He made the fish that live in the waters and the birds that fly about the earth, and He made all the animals big and small. Now the world was finished. So on the sixth day what do you think God made? "People!" cried Bobby and Patricia together. "He made people to live in the world." "That's right," said Joe. "He made a man and a woman. The man's name was Adam, the woman's name was Eve. God said that Adam and Eve should rule over everything else in the world. This was because He made them better than everything else. I will tell you why they were better. It was because God gave them souls. Because they had souls they could think. They could talk, they could understand what God said to them, they could speak to them, they could love Him. So you see how wonderful it is to have a soul. After God had finished His work He was happy. He said, 'I have worked for 6 days. Now on the 7th day I will rest.'" "That is just what my daddy does," Patricia broke in. "He works 6 days every week, and on Sunday he rests." "So does my daddy," said Bobby. "I guess people do that because God showed them it was a good thing to do." "Yes," replied Joe, "that was exactly why. Later God made a law that everyone must do it. I will tell you about that in another story." "If God made everything out of nothing," Bobby asked, "who made God?" "No one made God," Joe answered. "God had no beginning. He always was and always will be." Bobby thought this over. He shook his head. "I can't understand very well," he said. Joe answered in an encouraging tone, "No one can understand it altogether, Bobby, but we know it is true. God has told us many things about Himself. We read about Him in His holy book called the Bible. We learn about Him in His church. But some of these things are so great we cannot grasp them. That is because God Himself is so great. Yet these things are true and we must believe them." "Mother told me about that," Patricia broke in. "She said that when we know a thing is true but can't understand it, it is a Mister something. What kind of a Mister is it, Joe?" "A mystery," Joe replied with a smile. "I don't care whether it is a mystery or not," declared Patricia. "I love God, and I'm always going to thank Him for making so many beautiful things for me." End of chapter 1.